Hi, okay, so I'm going to try talking about being a reverse vegetarian, and I'm going to give just a little brief history of my vegetarianism and kind of some of my health stuff, but just end up with where I am now and why. So, um, as a child, I remember, in the 70s, there was a really great social push towards vegetarianism. Raw veganism was just burgeoning, and there were books being written about it. And I remember going to health food stores and buying little, basically candy bars, but we didn't know that that's what they were because they were sweetened with honey, and for some reason that was thought to be a superior form of sweetener, but now, we know sugar is sugar. So even though I was buying these little like Tiger's Milk, I remember was like my favorite one bar, it wasn't any better than if I'd bought, like a Milky Way or something, but we didn't know that. My aunt actually baked bread, and I used to have a lot of that, her home baked bread, but I later found out that, I'm pretty wheat and gluten intolerant, so that didn't help me either. But we didn't know it at the time. My husband kind of has a joke about it, that like all the foods that we were thought were like supposed to be good for us or whatever, like in the 70s. Like I remember like whole wheat bread sandwiches with honey and peanut butter, and that was like considered great. And now like I look at it and I think, oh gosh, no wonder I was sick all the time. So I remember one particular year, I think it was maybe my 10th or 11th year. Um, I lived for a summer with a family of vegetarians on a farm in Indiana, and they had a currant bush, which was wonderful. And I remember in the afternoon, they would all the berries would like go dark, and we would go out and eat them. Anyways, uh, it had a big influence on me living with them because they were a generation, actually, one upon the other, like three, of vegetarians. And so that was very much a part of their family. But when I moved back to live with my own family again, I couldn't really maintain being a vegetarian. And then later, when I was a teenager, I think I tried for a short period of time, but I really wasn't able to maintain it because I didn't have any really good education on how to round out a meal for myself. So, yeah, it just didn't really click for me until I was about my second year of college. I found myself sort of being able to read enough books and thought that I, was able to put together enough good information that I could probably, make a go of it. And I did. Within that first year, I was, ovo lacto, and then I think, you know, there were little couple of stints of weeks here or there where I would try to be vegan and everything. And while staying away from milk was very important to me, really health-wise, because as a child I was milk intolerant anyways, um, it didn't really improve my health. I did still try over many, many years, actually, I'd say between 5 and 7, to be vegetarian and then specifically vegan. And it never was successful in the long run, no matter whose plan or method I tried. And it wasn't just me doing it on my own. I did seek the assistance of lots of different kinds of health counselors, and none of their programs ever sufficed for me. Now, part of that has to do with an underlying health condition that wasn't ever being treated, and because that is a hormonal one by nature, it's gonna, make my all the other systems of my body be off, literally. So I just kept going along. By the time I was, say, 27, I guess, I definitely wasn't vegetarian anymore and had my first son. And after I had him for a very good period of time, especially while I was nursing, I was vegetarian and vegan in particular. And I remember eating a lot of tofu, which, I had grown up eating tofu. Like I said, it was the 70s, right? And I later, realized how much that was really actually messing up my hormones, but I didn't know that then. Anyways, by the time I was 28 and we had moved to Guam, um, there wasn't any way that I was interested in being a vegetarian at that point, even though there are a lot of vegetarians there. It just didn't suit me. And then I got pregnant again. By 29, I wasn't being a vegetarian then either. And I had been trying lots of different kinds of programs, but like I said, this underlying health condition is not going to help me out. So all the different programs I would try, vegetarian or not, food combining, I pretty much tried them all. Um, None of them really helped. And I could, for short periods of time, possibly sometimes lose weight, but it would always come back. So I'd have to say the only other big change that really came into my mind as an option was probably, I'd say it was 2001 or 2, when it was the second time that I learned about being raw vegan, and I decided to try it. And I did it for 2 weeks, and it was fairly successful, I could say, but I knew that in the long term I wasn't able to maintain it, and I wasn't in a place or climate where I felt comfortable to do it. So that was a fail. And just different books from different doctors thereon, keep trying to figure out, what's this puzzle of my health. But still always going back to that vegetarian model as being the one that I thought was superior. Um, so roundabout to the past year, I guess I could say, the books that, I had been using weren't vegetarian by model. And some of them, Nourishing Traditions and other ones by Dr. Hyman, they don't talk about being vegetarian, neither does Dr. Mercola. And neither of their programs exactly work for me, but Dr. Mercola talks about, and you know what, Underground Wellness does too, some sort of a like gene thing or genotyping, or I don't remember what they call it, where they figure out, what by your type of body, having to do with your background or something, that you would probably do best by eating this variety or proportions of food of, if you're better with a high carb or low carb or whatever it is, high protein or blah, blah, blah. Well, those weren't the total answer for me either, but it did sort of open a window. And then a friend of mine, actually, on Facebook, she knew that I was, trying all kinds of different diets. And in particular, the body ecology was very important for me for the fermented foods. But it wasn't until I started looking onto the paleo websites that things sort of really started to click into place. And I learned about why fat and the certain kinds of fats that actually really feed your brain are better, and what's a good way to make a meal that would support that. Well, in the media, we have these propaganda films like, what do you call that movie? Oh my gosh, Super Size Me. And sort of the counterbalance to that is Fathead. And unfortunately, Super Size Me, or, Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, that's another one that's vegetarian. I got really sick doing that. And I've been restoring my health a lot better by eating more like Fathead. Now, I don't eat at McDonald's the way that he did and ditch the bun or whatever, anything like that. But more like in Nourishing Traditions, where they're all whole foods, but avoiding, I in particular, grains and legumes, which that's the opposite of what I did as a vegetarian. Everything was beans and rice or quinoa and, lentils or something. And this is definitely the complete opposite. It's, meat and vegetables. And a lot of grass-fed meat, which is really nice because there are some good ranchers around town. And getting eggs that are not just fed soy, which makes the difference, but actually that they can eat bugs and things like that. So my meals have really changed. And, just recently I did lose 25 pounds, and then there was a whole big stress thing that happened and I gained 10 back. But I lost another pound of that just recently, so I'm knocking those back down again. But I'm really encouraged by this reverse vegetarian thing. And I think I might have found the key for me. So if you have any questions about it, I'm really still very new at it, and I don't know if I could answer them, but I might be able to, shoot you towards an area that could give you the answer. Or if on Facebook you want to learn about, like, there's different groups that sort of talk about it, or if you want some, I might put some links down. But yeah, I think I'd have to say the biggest plus that I've noticed is how it's helped my depression. Yay! That's always a great factor. Right before those headaches started happening, I started getting cravings for fats. and I didn't understand, and I felt so guilty standing there in the kitchen like, oh my gosh, why am I wanting to eat the fat off of meat? You know, that's usually what you cut off. But when I learned about it, it made a lot of sense, and I think I understand now how to prevent those headaches, so it's helping out a lot. Anyways, thanks for listening, and if you want to talk about or give a video also about, you know, your different types of diets and what you've tried and what's worked or what hasn't, for your health or for weight loss or for anything at all, I'd certainly be interested. And thanks so much. I'm wishing you all the best. Take care.